welcome to this week's reading vlog. This week, as you can see, I have just about started with feeling in the festive spirit and doing some decorating, so that will be my main goal for the week, just to feel as Christmassy as I can as we head into December and all of the good things start to happen. I love this time of year, I love feeling festive. It's just such simple pleasures, but something which I look forward to every year, and I'm really, really excited, can you tell? So in terms of reading, obviously my main goal is this beast, is to carry on finishing, well, reading and then hopefully finishing Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, which sadly I'm not very far through yet. I'm only about a fifth of the way through this book, this absolute monstrosity. I'm loving what I'm reading so far, but it's certainly very slow going. I think I have made a bit of a miscalculation in that I only gave myself about a week to read this book, thinking that the previous Sanderson books, Stormlight books that I've read, I've got through in about that length of time. However, all of the previous episodes, if you like, of Stormlight, the instalments, have been split into 2 volumes because I've been reading them in the paperback. Whereas this one is essentially 2 books in one. So the paperback would have been about there and there. I only have 1 volume. So giving myself a week for this was rather ambitious, and how I ever thought I would do it in the next 2 days before December starts, I clearly had no brains. But nevertheless, this one I want to finish. I just will definitely have to take a little longer over it than I had initially planned, so this will be rolling over into December and I will hopefully get to it maybe, I don't know, maybe by the end of the weekend I might have finished this one. Who knows? It depends how many other things I want to pick up along the way and what seasonal reads I want to have. I do definitely want to pick up a different book over the weekend. I have quite a busy weekend, but I want to take part in a small way in Slavicathon run by Sasha, the Wild Sasha. I want to read The Wolf Wilder by Catherine Rundell, which is a middle grade book I have the audiobook for, and I'm really excited to read because it seems like the perfect winter Christmassy ambience, which is exactly what I want at this time of year. So I definitely will read that one this week, but I may also pick up another book from my TBR just to give me a little break from this. Sanderson is one of my favourite writers of fantasy, but it can be quite intense at times, so it's nice to have something else to balance out with. But this one is the one I'll be starting with this evening and hopefully get another chunk of the way through. So without further ado, let's get reading. Christmas season has officially begun. So it is Saturday evening and I am checking in with an update as usual. I've had a very busy last couple of days. I have had a usually busy work week. It's never quiet these days, but I'm getting used to it. It's absolutely fine. But I then followed that up on Friday evening, so last evening, with our work Christmas evening do out. We had a meal, we went out for drinks afterwards, went straight from work as well. So it was quite the lengthy evening and with no chance to have any kind of social relaxation, I suppose. You know, it was just going from working with people to socialising with people, which is great fun, but for someone who's very introverted like myself, it is quite hard work. But nevertheless, I had a very fun time. It was quite a late one, so I have definitely slept in this morning, which has eaten into my Saturday, but have also made the most of today because I've got lots of things done, lots of errands run, work things sorted that needed dealing with after the busy week that I've had, and also a fair bit of reading. So today and tomorrow, this weekend, are the 2 days of Slavicathon, which is run by Sasha at the Wild Sasha. I was very excited about this readathon. I knew I wouldn't be able to participate massively in this. I haven't followed particularly any of the prompts on the bingo board that she created, but I did want to get into the spirit of this because reading Slavic, kind of Russian, Eastern European, wintry themed books is very much something that I enjoy, especially at this time of year. So I was very keen to at least read one for this, and I had decided to read the audiobook of The Wolf Wilder by Catherine Rundell, which I've got through all of today. I've mainly listened to this either when I've been going about my tasks throughout the day or sitting cosy by the Christmas tree and having a little listen to that as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was a really good middle grade. I think it will be a high 4-star, which is about as high as I ever score a middle grade. I very, very rarely give them 5 stars. But I loved this book. I loved the way it was written. I loved the feel of the story generally. So it had that sort of, not quaintness exactly, but that just magical feeling that you get with children's books, that no matter what happens, there's always something of beauty that you can see within the story. There's some little shred of excitement or hope or something wonderful to carry through, which I absolutely love. It's that really positive message that children absolutely need to be reading about, and that as adults we absolutely enjoy too. So I loved that quality to the story. I thought the characters were very well crafted. Our main character, Theodora, was wonderful. She was a very feisty 12-year-old. I think she was 12. And I loved the balance of her life at the beginning with her mother and with the wolves in this very, very remote setting, but also her way of interacting with other children and other people generally towards the latter part of the book, without giving any spoilers away. I loved the wolves as well in this story. Anything that's kind of forest and animal based I tend to enjoy as a story, and I love the animal companion type trope. This one wasn't companions as such because obviously the wolves are wild, they are wild creatures, they're not pets, and that's the whole point of the story, is that Theodora and her mother basically take domesticated wolves. So in Russia at the time when this is set, wolves were trained as basically house pets, which is obviously very against their character and is terrible. But Theodora and her mother are basically in charge of taking these domesticated pets once they are no longer wanted by their very wealthy owners, and rewilding them and introducing them back into nature to live as wolves should be. So it was a really wonderful book. It was a beautiful twist on a story. I've never read anything quite like that before. I loved the whole quest that they go on. Theodora obviously has to go and journey across Russia, across all of these wild landscapes to go and rescue her mother. That's the main premise of the story, but also you have this underlying thread about the wolves as well, that she's trying to protect them from this evil general character who is basically our antagonist, and she has a lot of friends that she makes along the way, and it's just such a heartwarming book. And as I said, the landscape and the setting of this book was what made it for me. That's why I chose to read it, particularly for this readathon, but why I picked it up at all. And I'm very, very glad I did. I loved this and I would definitely read it again or listen to it again. It was particularly lovely narration of the audiobook too. So a very high 4 stars, and one that I'm thoroughly glad that I have read. I'm also making pretty good progress with Rhythm of War. I say pretty good, I still have tons to go, but I have read about a third of this now. I am that far through. So we're doing okay. I feel like it's going to take me all month, this book. It's so slow going. I'm loving it. I'm really excited to be back with these characters, but it has been quite a slow start to the book so far. So even though we started basically in a battle, it has felt like we've just been resettling into the story and picking up where all of the characters are 1 year on from the end of Oathbringer, the previous book. And I haven't minded that in a way because it has been a couple of months since I read the last book, so I didn't remember every little detail about the story. They are so intricate, these books, that you basically need to read them back to back to have any chance of remembering anything, which of course I haven't. I've read a lot since then, so I still remembered most parts of the story, but some of the little details and the kind of the very vague side characters and things like this I didn't remember that much about, so an easy start into the book was kind of what we needed, but also I feel like now I'm at about the 400-page mark. I want a little bit more to start happening, and we've had a couple of events happen within about the last 50 pages, but it's definitely time, I think, for the action to ramp up and for things to start happening a bit more significantly. So fingers crossed that does happen. I will carry on with this one. Probably not tomorrow. I have a busy day tomorrow. I'm meeting a couple of friends in the city, going to the Christmas markets, going for a meal and just generally catching up. One of them I haven't seen for a very long time, and the three of us, we were all at uni together. The three of us haven't met up as a group for ages and ages, many years, so it will be a fun day, but definitely will not have much opportunity for reading, if any at all. So Rhythm of War will be rolling into next week. I think I'm going to make this a 2-week vlog like I've done before, so you will see a little bit more very shortly of my day, probably tomorrow, and then of what I start reading or carry on reading next week. So I will leave this update here for now and chat to you again very soon. I still can't get over what a novelty it is filming by a Christmas tree. It's just so pretty. I wish I could have this background all year long. So I am filming for the purposes not just of showing you my tree, but of letting you know that I have finished now reading Anne of Cleves, or Anna of Claver, as we should be pronouncing it, by Alison Weir, the 4th book in the 6 Tudor Queens series. First thing I have to say about this book is, isn't it the most beautifully presented thing you've ever seen? I did show you in some B-roll earlier, but look at those end papers. Literally looks like a proper Holbein painting. I'm so impressed, and the pattern on the back cover as well is equally stunning. I don't own these hardbacks, this one is just on loan from a friend, and previously I'd had paperback versions of these, so I'm very, very happy to have consumed such a beautiful book. But presentation aside, what did I think of the story? It was okay, this one. It was nothing special. It was enjoyable, and I'm glad I've read it, but has sadly gone back to the themes of the first two in the series, in that I liked bits of the story and then other bits I found quite boring or very repetitive. There was, however, a very significant, well, not really a plot twist, but a twist on what's perhaps historically accurate. Certainly Alison Weir has been very, very clever in that she has taken a couple of stray comments that were made in historical context and woven them into a whole scandalous story, which I very much enjoyed reading. It wasn't something I necessarily think is 100% accurate, but it worked for the purposes of the story, and I'm very glad to have read this book with that twist in mind, because otherwise I think this would have been a particularly dull plot. But cleverly having some extra elements to the story has made it a lot more interesting, I suppose, to a modern audience. Still wasn't my favourite in the series, that still was the Jane Seymour story. But I did like that we got to see bits of Anna's life, not just before her interaction with Henry, as we've done with the previous queens, but also afterwards, when she has been divorced from the king. No spoilers, it's history. And how her life changes, and how even after the king's death there are certain parts of her story that can carry on. It's an interesting twist on the theme that Alison Weir has followed with the previous books. So I'm glad I've read it. I think this one is going to be a 3 out of 5 stars, the same as I gave the first 2 in the series, but I am most definitely going to carry on and finish this series now, having only 2 books left. I do have the 5th one on loan, so I will probably read that one sometime in the new year, and then try and borrow the 6th and final one to finish off this series. But some lovely historical descriptions, some lovely themes. I do love the setting of a royal court, I have to say. Aside from the actual storyline, I just think as a setting it's a very interesting thing to read about, and a lovely glimpse of what history was like back then, what life was for people. It's certainly not something I wish I lived through, especially being a woman, but very glad to get a little taste of that completely different world to the one that I live in. So 3 out of 5 stars, but by no means a bad read for this one. So I think next, I'm not sure what to pick up next. I do definitely have to finish Rhythm of War. Still, we are going strong with this one, but savouring it, as I said I was going to. I think I kind of want to pick up another historical book. I know I have quite a few on my December TBR, and I'm just in the mood for that kind of thing at this time of year. It makes me very nostalgic. I want to read classics and historical fiction. So I think I do have the next Last Kingdom book on my TBR, which I wasn't sure whether I was going to actually get to this month or not, but I think it might be just what I need as a break from Rhythm of War. Another break, you know what I mean, while I carry on reading Rhythm of War, to have something else to turn to that's very, very different. So I think I will go for that because I have it here. It's only a very tiny book. It's only 300 pages-ish, so they usually take me a day to get through these, maybe 2 if I'm really, really busy, but they're very, very fast-paced reads, very action-packed. Lots of battles and things like that, and politics and royal plots and things, but in a very different sense to both the one I've just read and to Stormlight. So I think this one could be just what I need as that little breather. I'm not necessarily going to start this now, I'm going to jump back into Rhythm of War, but this one I think will be my alternate choice for the next few days. So let's get reading. I'm going to stay sitting by my beautiful tree. I love reading by fairylights. It's just the most cosy thing, and I also do have a radiator right behind me, so it's very cozy in my room right now. So I think I'm going to just get some blankets, make some tea, and carry on with a bit more of Rhythm of War, perhaps with this interspersed a little bit later on if I fancy a change. Good evening, lovely people. Hope you are all doing well. I am just checking in with a quick update. I'm just back from work and I'm actually heading back out again pretty soon to go and play tennis, which I have to say I'm not looking forward to this evening. It looks very dark and cold and horrible out there, and I really would much rather stay cosy in my room with a good book, but alas, that cannot happen. But I'm sure I'll have fun once I get there, and much reading can be done later once I get home again. I realised as well how much I used to update these vlogs when I was sat in my car after leaving work, because now I can't do that. I have lost my regular vlogging spot because it's just so dark. I feel like everything is just showing a background of my room these days, which is okay. There are lots of pretty things in here. I love it, but I feel like it doesn't make for much variety, so apologies for that. But nevertheless, we carry on, and I'm loving my Christmas atmosphere at the moment, so I'm happy to spend as much time in this room as possible. So I just wanted to update you that I've started another book. I picked up this morning before I went to work and read the first couple of chapters of Warriors of the Storm by Bernard Cornwell, this being the next book in the Last Kingdom series. I did mention the other day that I wanted to pick this one up, and indeed I have. Another historical fiction, more battle and drama and politics, and wonderfully witty and exciting and controversial main character. I'm really looking forward to carrying on with the story. The first couple of chapters have already been highly entertaining. I love Uhtred so much as a narrator, as a main protagonist. He's obviously quite controversial from what I've said before. He's not the most good of characters all the time, but his heart's in the right place and he does everything for a reason. And I just find his inner monologue and his way of looking at the world and how witty he is with other characters, especially some of the priests in these stories. He absolutely is merciless towards them, but in the most amusing way. And I love reading about him so much, so I'm really, really excited to be back in this world and to carry on with this book, hopefully when I get back this evening. I haven't got a bookmark in this yet, but I was up to page 55, so I only read 2 chapters this morning. I'm on to chapter 3. But I hopefully will get a good chunk of this read this evening and then maybe finish it off over the next day or so. It's very quick. I've said before how fast paced these books are, so hopefully won't take me too long and will be yet another one that I've ticked off this month. So without further ado, I will go off and freeze to death playing tennis, and I will see you again very soon, hopefully when I'm back and reading a bit more of this. Back in the warm and time for some reading. Hello, so it is Saturday morning. I rather annoyingly have woken up with a cold today, so do excuse my voice. It is really annoying timing this. I feel like I'm always ill at the weekends. I've felt some bit of a sore throat brewing the past couple of days, but Saturday morning, you wake up, you want to do things and feel ill, which is rubbish, but I think it's just that I get to a point where I just keep going and going and the work stress carries me through, and then as soon as that stops and I can actually think for myself, I then am hit by being ill and realise, actually, no, you're not coping particularly well, but it's fine. This is life. Winter in the NHS is never going to be fun. Despite that, I plan to have a lovely festive morning and do some more Christmassy things with my weekend, and also get a lot more reading done. So I probably will have quite a leisurely start, and I want to pick up a new book. So I think I'm going to start Crownbreaker, the last of the Spellslinger books by Sebastian de Castell. I'm going to listen to the audiobook and maybe do a bit of my colouring or something this morning, just to keep my hands busy. So I'm going to I'm going to go and pick that up. I'm going to go and make a coffee, and then I'm going to pick that up and get started. So last night, I will just let you know, I did finish reading Warriors of the Storm by Bernard Cornwell, this being the next of the Last Kingdom books. I thoroughly enjoyed this, as always. I love these books, I love the characters. This felt like kind of a, not a filler book exactly, but there wasn't anything massively significant to Uhtred's story specifically in this one, or kind of in the way of historical events that I was aware of. You do have a few kind of changes of status within more of the Danes type politics, and with some invaders and things like this, but kind of what feels like the heart of the story isn't really affected until probably the very end of the book. But nevertheless, I very much enjoyed it, as I always do. A very comfortable, quick, easy read, but something that I very much like immersing myself in. So a 4 out of 5 stars, as always, probably on the lower side of 4 for this one, but nevertheless a very enjoyable book, and one which I'm glad I've got to. Hello, it is Sunday and I am checking in to wrap up this vlog. I am finally able to film in my car and in daylight again. It's a very rare occurrence at the moment. I feel like I'm basically nocturnal. I hardly ever see the sun, which is very, very sad. But on the rare occasion that I'm off on a weekend, we get to enjoy some, well, not sunlight, but daylight at least. So, as I said, checking in to wrap up the vlog. This has been a very long one, it feels. I feel like it's been ages and ages since I first started this vlog. I think because I've filmed over 2 weeks, which I'm not particularly used to doing, but I think it just works better throughout December because I'm so busy with work at the moment. I don't reliably have enough time to film during the week. I won't guarantee to have enough content for you, and I want to have as much festive content in each vlog as possible. So probably the next one you see will also be a fortnightly vlog, which will take us basically up to Christmas. So that is very exciting. More festive things to come, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing all of the decorating this week, the places that I've been, and the reading that I've done too. I've been reasonably productive, I think. I finished, 3 books and made some more progress with Rhythm of War as well. I'm also feeling a lot better from my cold, thank goodness. Before anybody asks, by the way, it's not COVID, I did do a test. We have to be very strict with work, so any sign of a symptom, off we go. But no, all is good, just a cold and definitely on the mend. So the plan for next week will be to make a little more progress with Rhythm of War. I don't know how long this book is going to take me, as I've said, but I've just decided to savour it and just go with what I want to read when I want to, and do a little bit more mood reading this month. I mean, probably still from my TBR, but kind of mood read the more Christmassy books when I want to pick them up. So we will see what comes next week. Hopefully some more festive reads and lots more Christmassy content as well. Generally, in terms of lifestyle, I have a few plans over the next couple of weeks, which I will definitely take you along with me too. As you will have seen, I had a lovely festive day yesterday. We went to a stately home a little drive away from us called Attingham Park, a National Trust property. I love going to old houses at this time of year and seeing all of the festive decorations that they do, and when things are kind of in theme with the house, I find it especially exciting. So it was a really atmospheric day and just the thing I needed when I was feeling dreadful, just to go and immerse myself in Christmas magic. I have never seen so many trees as in this house. Honestly, there was a Christmas tree in basically every room, all with different themes, some themed around the decor of the room, some with kind of hints to the history of the house. We had handmade decorations, we had all photographs on some of them, as well as some beautiful opulent ones as well. And also a tree with actual real teacups and teapots hanging from it, which I have no idea how they managed to do, along with another one with saucepans in the kitchen. It was so creative. Someone must have had so much fun designing and decorating all of these different trees. I would love to do something like that. My artistic heart was singing. But so it was a very fun day, and we also had a little walk around the grounds. It was bitterly cold, properly wintry, but definitely worth it because I have never seen so many deer as we saw in this park. It was just hundreds and hundreds of fallow deer. They were being fed, I think, at that time of day, so there were loads of them all gathered around in this one particular field. But I love deer, they're so beautiful, and it was just a really special, magical end to the day. So a thoroughly enjoyable outing was had. So without further ado, I will leave this video here. Thank you very much for watching. As always, leave me a like down below if you enjoyed it. Chat to me in the comments about any of the books I've read, anything else you'd like to discuss with me. Are you feeling festive yet? Are all your decorations up? How are things going for you? I would love to know. And please consider subscribing to this channel if you'd like to see more content from me. It really means a lot. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you very soon with the next video, so goodbye for now.